This is one of my earlier pictures, like the beginning of my therapy, and on the left hand side it's at more happy times where there's a sunshine and trees and flowers, which I really like because I've got a nice garden, and there's a toolbox and all the tools seem to be all in working order, and that's how I feel about life, that we're supposed to have tools that actually work, or we cannot gain any structure or get anywhere in our life. And on the right hand side there is a box with broken tools in that do not work, and it seems to be quite sad and stormy. The weather is not very nice and I don't look very happy because I don't have any tools that actually work. So the tools in the box are all broken and I can't use them. In the beginning, when I was diagnosed with EUPD, which is emotionally unstable personality disorder, I realised that this did actually fit, although it was upsetting reading about it. My emotional state was really bad and I was just getting really upset and easily distracted. One little thing and I'd be crying for days about it, and my life was very confusing. I had a lot of memory problems. I was kind of going from one thing to another. I was drawing pictures, I was riding a bike, I was trying to exercise, I was going from one extreme to another with my eating. Like 1 minute I was eating a lot, the next minute I wouldn't eat at all. Everything was just all over the place. I didn't know whether I was coming or going, who I was, and it was just hard to be in control of anything. And when I was younger and I was at school, I was bullied quite a lot. I was abused by my sister. I remember being locked in cupboards and just being really frightened of my sister. I tried to run away a few times. She had asked me to do weird things, and I've tried to block all these things out. Even some of it I don't really remember because I was quite young. But as I've gotten older, I understand that she wasn't well, and I've tried to forgive her because I feel sorry for her. The one thing I did do when I was younger was I kind of invented an imaginary friend, which now I realise was actually me. I was actually pretending to be a cat, and when I was the cat was called Eow, and the cat wasn't hurt. Everybody loved the cat. I used to tell my brother he had to love and feed Eow, and he would pet me. And it sounds really weird now talking about it, but at the time it was like a safety net. If anything was going wrong, I would pretend I was this cat. And the reason why I was like that is because I was blocking out stuff that happened. There was one time I was in a car with my sister's friend on the back seat, and I was abused, and that's all I really kind of remember, because I started to just block everything out and pretend I wasn't there. And this is what I used to do, and I feel that as I grew up I didn't have tools that could work because of all the stuff that happened, and my tools were just not working like everyone else's. I wasn't able to stick up for myself. I wasn't able to work out what was going on. This one was done a little bit later on in therapy, and I had started to work out that what was going on in my head was that I had fragmented people and memories living inside me. And the bit in the middle is all of me spinning around, and all of my different sides, my different states, my feelings all represent what's going on in the middle there. And the people that are standing alone are the ones that I've managed to become separately rather than all in one go, which made it very hard for people to understand me. And I also was very confused trying to live in that cycle in the middle. I was spinning from being sad 1 minute, then absolutely cracking up at the most silliest things, laughing my head off, and then crying again, then being quite angry, and just really going from one mood to another, like to extremes. And nobody could really understand me when I was spinning, and other people would be frightened by it, or not frightened but maybe just confused and just couldn't understand me at all, and I couldn't understand myself. And as I went through therapy, I was able to separate these personalities and become one, because it was just easier, and my life was less confusing if I was able to stay as one personality for longer, and then recognise when I was spinning and then try to stop spinning, which was really hard, because once I started spinning it was like a washing machine, and I was just going round and round, and everything was going round and round at the same time, and I couldn't see a way out. people are now on the outside because they represent the different personalities but standing by themselves. There was one thing I wanted to say about having problems with dissociative identity disorder, is that I was so desperate for people to see it on the outside, and they just couldn't see how I actually felt inside. I knew that I was changing from day to day. I knew I was spinning. I couldn't explain it at first, but being able to be understood in therapy was a big step for me. I just felt all I had to do was explain how I actually felt inside, and I didn't have to react in a way where I wanted to be noticed as being different or a different personality. I started to notice in my pictures that there were differences in my handwriting. That was one of the main things, and looking back at notebooks and stuff and realising the big change in handwriting was a big thing. And also the style of my pictures would change, and just like little things like that made it more real for me, and I felt more understood and accepted and more than ever, because I've been struggling with it my whole life, and I've looked back on old photographs and I've shown those to the therapist, and everybody kind of had agreed with me that they may not be able to see them, but they do understand and they do believe me, which just made me feel happy inside. And yeah, it stopped me acting out more, and I've definitely cut down on pretending to be other people, like doing the impressions and stuff like that. I don't push that on anyone anymore, because I feel like if I'm just myself, that is now accepted, and I wanted to be believed, and I just feel like a big weight is lifted and I don't have to be frightened to talk about it anymore.